he's feeling, but just your thoughts on what he's going through and how important he is for you guys with postseason.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's been as good as any pitcher in baseball in the second half. He's been amazing. I'm hopeful that he's the Rookie of the Year. And he threw today, and the next step it would be a bullpen, and we'll keep moving forward.
Does it matter how he feels after today? Know a little bit more about what's going on?
We'll just keep gathering more information as we go. And of course it will matter how he feels, and we'll just keep monitoring everything. And like I said, the next step would be throwing a bullpen, and I think we sort of have time on our side a little bit, so we'll just keep working through each step.
On a scale of 1 to Marcus Stroman's weird injury a couple years ago, where does
I don't know. At any given day, there's 10, 12 guys on the injury report, and you're always just kind of this is just what we do. You kind of monitor these different things, and obviously in this case it's higher profile. But obviously, like I said, Cade threw earlier, and we're going to keep moving forward.
Counsell kind of built that six-man rotation recently. Wanted to have flexibility and pace. Something along. How do you feel about where the rotation stands as you sort of map out your options? Boyd had a nice outing last time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at any given time you have guys that are, kind of the peak of their game and throwing well, and you have guys that are working through stuff, and I think we have some of both right now, honestly. Run prevention in general has been really, really good in the second half. Our defense has been really good, and we just have to hope that continues. But yeah, I mean, not each of those guys is not, in optimal form, but I think that's sort of normal. I don't think you get that very often.
Craig made it sound like the way you've set it up, using your top 3 pitchers, you could go all the way to Monday and make a choice, and they'd be in proper rest and all that. Does that kind of make sense?
I would assume that's the expectation, that we have time to make decisions, and you guys will keep asking, and we'll keep telling you we'll push them off. But yeah, we have time, and we have built in that flexibility to be able to wait.
When you make up your rotation for the series, you're the president of baseball operations, but is it cumulative between you and Craig deciding who starts?
I think it's everybody. I think that obviously I'm the final decision maker on stuff, but there's a lot of really smart people that have done a great job in their careers that are going to be part of that decision. Obviously, Craig's going to be a huge part of it. The pitching coaches, other coaches, our analysts, Carter, our front office. There's just so many people that are going to weigh in on a decision, and that's the way it should be.
I asked Counsell about the concern level for Cade, and just going from the place of he's dealing with something, so there's concern, but also adding on to that, the postseason is important, his future is important with this organization. So where's your concern?
Yeah, I think you're always balancing all those things. They're all very important, and I know it was Patrick said that there's a gray. You're in a gray area to a certain extent. Obviously, in a perfect world, you're not even talking about any of these things. Sort of leading into the postseason, but we are, and all of those factors are going to be part of the eventual decision.
What's your level of concern with Shota's recent outings?
He's obviously struggled the last few times out, and the home run ball has been an issue. He's obviously has a great track record. So yeah, in a perfect world, like I said, in a perfect world, everyone's throws a shutout before they head into the postseason. That's not always the case, but he's pitched a lot in his career and his life, and I know he's gonna be working on some things and thinking and looking at some things before his next outing. But yeah, level of concern on him in general is not high, but certainly there are things we'll be looking to fix and adjust as we go forward.
You touched on the mechanics throughout his last few outings. Do you think that maybe stems from the injury, or what do you think that?
I mean, it almost goes like stuff we talked about with Tucker. I think that's the challenge, right? Is that people are dealing with different things during the course of the season. It's unrealistic that guys aren't going to be dealing with injuries and are going to be fighting through things. If there wasn't, we wouldn't have a roster. And so sometimes those injuries you start to accommodate the injury, you get in some bad habits. I think likely that happened a little bit with Tucker with his mechanics, and there's a possibility that with Shota that there was some compensation, and then maybe he got in some bad habits. You never know exactly, but yeah, certainly a possibility.
Has the angst of losing 6 out of 7 taken a little bit of joy away from the fact that you guys are in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, we played really well. Like we won 5 out of 6 to clinch, and obviously we have struggled since. And yeah, I mean, I don't like to lose, so I think that creates angst. I think I can keep those two things separately. Like, yes, it was nice to clinch on September 16th. I think that gave us the ability, to not redline some guys and not do some, try to head into the postseason with some rest. I think that's really important. But obviously, the way we played the last week has been, for anyone, it was frustrating. No one likes to lose, so you of course there's a level of frustration with that. But I think you can hold those two thoughts separately and be happy. We know we have a game on Tuesday, but also, yeah, we always want to play better.
We've talked a lot about the way Cade responded to that Houston outing. He came back quick from the blister. He's dealt with pitch restrictions. Craig says he's adamant. He wants to keep going here. Just what have you thought of how he's had things thrown at him here and continuing to post the results?
Yeah, I think Craig says it really well. He's a very clear-eyed competitor. I think that he loves to compete. I think he sort of thrives on the competition part of this game, which is great. I think there are players that isn't the thing that is their main motivation. I think he loves to compete in anything, and he does it really well. And so I think when there is adversity or there are challenges, I think he's done a really good job of kind of blocking those things out and executing really well.
Does it feel like the offense has kind of come out of the malaise that they were in?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're swinging the bat better. Our hope is that Kyle can come back and add to that. But yeah, it was nice to see Say hit a couple homers against a really good pitcher last night. I think that's been good. I think Nico's been fantastic. Yes, I think in general we swung the bats a little bit better, and hopefully we can continue that. I mean, I think I said it after we clinched that our offense was incredible for the first 2.5 months, and run prevention was solid, and then really the second half it's been flipped around where the run prevention has been excellent, but the offense hasn't been as good. And I think realistically, if you're gonna have a run in October, you're gonna have to have both those things going well at the same time. That that eventually the team that's gonna win is gonna be doing both things really well. We have the ability to do both things well, and I think to your point, getting the offense going. I think it is important, and I think there has been some good signs in the last week, even though we haven't won games.
Does what Tucker did last year, coming back from an injury and performing so well, give you optimism that he can take off running?
I guess I have to hold on to that. I mean, obviously, in an ideal world, you come back and you have a lot more games and at bats. So hopefully, whether it's 2 or 3 games, hopefully he can recognize pitch as well and get back in the swing of things quickly, because you're gonna face a lot of good pitching in the postseason. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that helps. And I know he's been hitting and working on those things. But I mean, there's not a lot of time.
How much does his presence in the lineup just kind of help the functionality?
Yeah, I mean, he's our best hitter, and the way he conducts at bats, I think is contagious. So I do think it's really important to have him in there, and I do think this lengthens our lineup and makes us better.
Another one, Cade. Like, is his bullpen session, the next one tomorrow Sunday, really important? Like, is it going to be telling, or?
Well, I think each step is, as we're making decisions, is important, and that's the next step.
We haven't talked to you since the Shaw story. Was that a difficult decision for you, or easy because of the?
Oh, I mean, obviously they had a relationship, and I don't think I've ever said no to a player who felt like it was important for them to, grieve or to be somewhere. I think that's a moment where you have to trust your players and understand that they're humans, and that was something he wanted, and we weren't going to stand in the way of it. So.
Jed, how would you describe just this second half with Tucker, how the process has gone? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think he might have been the MVP of the National League, after the first couple months of the season, and and continued to play well through June, and obviously the second half has, he's struggled at times. I think he started to come out of it, and then hurt his calf. But ultimately, I think when you get to this kind of last weekend of the regular season, there's times I think back on things that I was dealing with in April, and it feels like it happened to a different person. It was so long ago, I was thinking about, spending the weekend, talking about Justin Steele and the potential for surgery, and that literally feels like it was 2 years ago, and it was in this regular season. And the reason I say that is I don't, you get to this point because of everything that happens, and I don't think we can discount how good our offense was, how big a part of it he was, this season, and I think that was really the first 2 months of the season, or when we got well away from 500, and when we sort of established ourselves as a playoff team. So, his impact on this season is pretty incredible. Even though a lot of his production was at this point, several months ago.
You've been here for a lot of big playoffs moments. How important is it playing here in Wrigley Field?
I think it's really important to the fans. I think it's it's like kind of a gift you want to give to them. I think that our fans have been awesome all summer. Really amazing crowds. I mean, really beyond summer, even freezing nights in April and incredible crowds. I think we, even going back to April and May, we're constantly talking about how good our crowds were, and I think we've had a really good home record, and I think that that's how I view it. Is they've been awesome and showing up in droves and loud all summer, and it's a gift that I think from certainly I feel that way, but I think the players feel that way as well.
But as far as a 3-game series, would it be a significant advantage, or does it really matter the same?
I mean, I think in base, I think that clearly you want to have home field advantage. I think if you look at the numbers, I think in baseball it's less than the other major sports, but I don't think that lessens our desire to stay here, because, like I said, I think you want to do that for your fans.
We've seen signs of heat coming around, but when you has plays like scoring from second, and the catch we saw yesterday, just how much is there just that? When you realize in the October setting, those plays matter as much as.
Yeah. I mean, he missed a huge home run last night by just a tiny bit. He's hit some balls hard. He certainly has been looking better, and obviously the play, the scoring on that play, the play made in the gap last night. I mean, when he's a star, and I think that he does things that that help you win games, and I think that he showed that the last couple nights. I think for us to be our best version of ourselves, he's doing those things on a nightly basis.
2 years after hiring Craig, could you explain what he has brought to the organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think he makes everyone better on a daily basis, asking questions, pushing everyone. I think he has a really high standard for what he expects, and I think that he carries out not only through his coaching staff, but through the front office, through the organization, and I think that's exactly what we hoped when we brought him here. So, I mean, as a person, as a manager, he's had a huge impact, and I was really happy for him. That when we clinched, I think that I think he's done a fantastic job with this roster all year. Up until this 5-game losing streak, we've been unbelievably consistent. I think we hadn't lost more than 3 in a row at any point. That's hard to do, and I think that takes a real steadiness from the manager, given the fact that it wasn't a perfectly smooth ride from a personnel standpoint. He managed that incredibly well, kept us very consistent and balanced, and I think that kind of goes with his personality.
But JMO talked about just from the player perspective, there's trust in the way Craig manages the team, the communication. How have you seen that transpire, and seen the openness that he's had with his players?
Yeah, he creates a very open, honest relationship. I think he's very straightforward. I think you guys know him. He's not a rah-rah guy, but he brings a real steady, consistent intelligence to the job every single day. His decision-making is very clear and obvious, and I think that allows players to know how they're going to be used. It lets them know what to expect. There's not a lot of inconsistency or any inconsistency with that, and that puts the players in the best mindset to play. They know how they're going to be used, and he uses them the right way. Yeah, no, he's been super impressive. Obviously, the numbers have been production has been really good, but I think even like the underlying numbers, when you look at his walk to strikeout ratios and things, that's hard to do as a 21-year-old in the big leagues in September. And he's a really good hitter, and there's more to his game than that. I think he can catch and do other things, but the way he's been asked to perform on this team, it's been really impressive to watch.
What's your relationship like with AJ Preller? Competitive? What you've done some deals together? What's it like?
No, AJ's great. I've known AJ for a long time, and obviously I think we have just a little bit of a connection. Like, I was once the GM of the Padres, and he's there, and so we, when we talk, not only did I live there and know the market and know his bosses, but also like there's still a lot of employees there that were there when I was there. So I think he's a great baseball mind. He works, literally all the time. I don't think he actually sleeps. So I have a ton of respect for him as a baseball mind and a person, but also I think we have a connection just because we kind of ran the same team. And like I said, there's like times where you have those conversations that not many people know.
Was there any text between just when the Dodgers clinched and this was just checking?
No.
Something funny there.
Yeah.
You've been here for half
Yeah.
Can you kind of say about the player that he's turned into and this opportunity to kind of prove himself on a big stage?
Yeah, there was no one that was like sort of more happy to hug after we clinched than Ian. He's I've been here for his whole career, the ups, the downs. He's worked really, really hard to turn himself into this player. I think that he obviously has some natural gifts. His decision making at the plate is amazing. He has power, but also like the work he puts in on a daily basis, whether it's his vision work he does every day, the preparation for that pitcher, the work he does with the young players. I think defensively, he's turned himself into a Gold Glove left fielder. We forget that he was, I want to say positionless when we drafted him, but we didn't know where he was going to be, second, third, and he's turned himself into a Gold Glove outfielder. Not just because of physical gifts, but because he really pays attention to positioning and scouting reports and all those things. So he's a really great even example for young players of his diligence has turned himself into an all-star, a Gold Glover, and allowed himself to stay in one place for his whole career. And a lot of players could learn lessons from that and just how you conduct yourself on a daily basis.
Jed,
We'll take two more for Jed.
Do you see the importance with a guy like Ian, where and Nico a little bit too, where they serve as connectors to the last group?
Yeah.
The
Yeah, they have a connection. You see guys like Lester and Rizzo walking around, and Zobrist. They have connections to those guys, and also they're helping guys like Casey and Ballesteros and Cade get better. And I think that stuff matters in an organization.
when you were building your roster this year and you could see defense is going to be really important for a season. It's something that people overlook sometimes.
Depth is a really boring thing to talk about, but it matters. You have to withstand injuries during the course of the season. You have to withstand poor performance, and it's a marathon. And there's a lot of talented teams, but I do think that the teams that are resilient over the course of the summer, whether that's through depth, withstanding injuries, withstanding whatever it gets thrown at them, it's important to be able to do that. And I think this team did a really good job of that.